Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode here on the Restosaga Classic Car Restoration YouTube channel. And this week, slightly different, we're actually working on the garage itself. Every year or two I like to repaint the garage floor because it gets a lot of wear and tear with the trolley jack going over and cars coming in and out, things getting painted on the floor, general wear and tear. So in this episode I'm going to clear the garage out, paint both halves, do a bit of floor preparation and generally do a bit of a tidy up, as I have a bit of spare time due to the UK still being in lockdown as this video is being made. So hopefully something a bit different for you all, and I hope you enjoy it and find it useful, maybe for your own garages or workshops. So as you can see, the grey floor paint I use has stood up quite well to the amount of abuse I give it, but you can see where I've painted various bits and pieces of the toy lander, the tires have lifted the paint. Just generally doesn't look particularly tidy. There's more overspray here, and this is probably the door that gets used the most, so that it's also where there's most wear and tear. Generally needs a good brush out, and then I'll have to wipe up the oil that's spilled on the floor underneath the cars and generally move things out of the way. So I'm probably going to do the garage in one half. I'll do this side first, clear everything over here, then whenever that paint's dried, move everything back across the way and do this side here. Gonna try and do it really thoroughly this time. Move the tumble dryer, workbench, everything as time goes on and allows. So first things first is get the MG moved outside. Yes, I know there's something sitting on the roof, very naughty. Move the MG outside and clear some space and get some brushing and wash the floor down. Better move that other car out of the way first. So I'm just going to push the MG outside because my son's asleep upstairs and I really don't want to have to wake him up. Okie doke, so looking a bit more empty and tidy already. Just noticing this big puddle type shape here, that'll definitely need tidied up. All my junk has been moved over to this side. Wasn't able to move the model cabinet on this occasion, but I'll move it whenever all this stuff comes over here. Same with the tumble dryer. Try and get as much of this floor painted. Next thing is to lift the oil tray and tidy up some of the oil stains. I'll use WD-40 to lift those. Then I'll brush the whole floor, and then I'll use Fairy Liquid, which is just a generic household detergent, washing up liquid really, to degrease the floor prior to painting. And there we go. I'm sure you didn't want to watch me brushing up the floor in real time. That would make for a bit of a boring video, but she'll agree the floor's looking actually better already. So let's go with a bit of warm soapy water and some washing up liquid, get the oil stains lifted, let it dry out in the sun, probably open the other door for that, get a bit of a breeze through, and then I'm ready for a coat of paint. I'll show you what paint I'm using in a wee second. So after all that brushing and washing, just waiting for the floor to dry, which it nearly is. Just step in here. You can see all this grey is actually flaked off floor paint, so you can see it really needed done. And yes, I know there are multiple different options for painting your floor, like epoxy coatings and surface preparing and etching and PVA sealing and all that. Yes, it does lift, but it's mostly at the door where the water lies or blows in under the door and then freezes in the winter. So hopefully this will give a good tidy up once it's all nicely painted again. So let's make sure the floor is thoroughly dried out before I go near it with any paint. big oily patch in the middle. I did do my best to degrease it. The water doesn't seem to be lying on it or repelled by it too badly, so hopefully it'll cover in quite nicely. And in case you're wondering, this is the garage floor paint I'm going to be using. This is Ronseal, Ronseal. The logo is probably under this bit here, but I have most of the tin left from the last time I did it, and this is slate grey satin. So I think they also do a red and some other colours, but I thought the grey suited in here the best. So that's what I'll be using. I'll probably put it on with a long handled roller just to make my life a bit easier, but we'll see. And I'm really looking forward to getting this all nice and tidy again. And there we have it. One side of the garage very smartly painted, if I might say so. And I have plenty of paint left for the other side. That was my concern because of this lockdown. All the DIY shops are closed, so I wanted to leave myself enough paint to do the other side, which should be slightly smaller, given that I've already cleared everything out of this side. But I'm gonna have to leave that to dry for a while. I think 24 hours before you can drive a car on it, which should be fine because the weather's lovely. Might redo this little bit in the middle because it's had oil on it, and we'll go from there. So here we are back on day 2 of the garage painting, and you can see a real contrast between the old floor and the new. Now I really want to redo this patch here. It doesn't seem to have taken all that well, and you can see some of the cream has come through the garage floor paint from where I was painting Toylander parts. Toylander's moved over there in the floor. Really didn't want to do that, but it's too difficult to move from the table. Actually, there's a good reason as to why I want to give that another coat. Don't know why that's happened. Maybe there's a bit of damp under the concrete. So over here, lifted everything off the floor. Just going to brush it out now. Decided to keep the workbench where it is because it's going to be too much work to move it. Disconnecting electrics and all that sort of stuff. So just leave it where it is, paint around it as close as I can in. So we're going to get it brushed out and then fairy liquid or detergent it down and then hose it out. I'm sure you don't need to see all that again because you saw it all on the last side, but I'll cut next to painting the floor and we can see the difference and transformation. Here we go. And just before I get stuck into the painting, here we are after being brushed, washed, hosed, and it's now nice and dry, ready to go. It's amazing the amount of dirt that had collected under the shelves, under the electric box, really everywhere. So good to get that all tidied out, and let's get a fresh coat of paint on this and I'm sure it'll look much better. And there you go. As you can see, our lovely weather is persisting and I have a nice coat of fresh grey paint on here. Whole floor is done. I managed to recoat these little bits here that I was concerned about, and I've done it right out of the tarmac. This bit here never really lasts, but it looks good for a short time anyway. I've done underneath the display cabinet. I might move that over here beside the tumble dryer, but I haven't really decided. So 4 to 6 hours to dry or recoat, and then you can't put a vehicle on it for 72 hours. So this is now 24 hours down here, so it'll be a little while before that's ready for a car and we can tidy everything up. So next part of this video will be a final tour around the new garage, all nice and tidy. Ta-da! Well, what do y'all think? I think it looks pretty good, somewhat more space, and I think it just looks a lot nicer and tidier. MG's in, as you can notice, the model cabinet has moved over here. Not entirely sure if that's its final resting place. I will have to move the number plates just so I can push it back against the wall. My son's little workbench is probably going to come over here, and I'll move the old tin bath and make some shelves here so he can store his toys and so on. So plenty more space to work in the Toylander. Lots of room in underneath the bench that I didn't really have before. And I also painted the window frame over here as well, just to give it all nice and clean and tidy. So big changes here in the Restosaga classic car restoration garage. I'm sure you'll agree, changes for the better. The workbench needs a good tidy up now, but that shouldn't take too long. So I'm going to wrap up this video here. I hope you've enjoyed something a little bit different here in the channel. Just a bit of a minor makeover here in the garage workshop. Thanks very much for tuning in again. I hope you're all staying healthy during this coronavirus lockdown. Back to normal programming next week as I find a new project to do, and I'll be sure to make a video on it too. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, give me a like, fire me a comment, and I'll be sure to reply to them all. See you again next week. Bye.